Hi, Jeff Nielsen, Nielsen Enterprises. Congratulations on the purchase of your new 2023 Yamaha VX Limited. So I'd like to take a second and run through this unit with you just so that you understand some of the basic operations of it. And we're going to keep it pretty basic. To start out with, let's just look in your front storage compartment. Get in there by pulling back and releasing this lever, and the front hatch opens up. Inside here is your fire extinguisher holder, which we'll add to the unit yet. And then also in there is your owner's manual. It is my recommendation, take your time and read your owner's manual. I get phone calls all the time that say, Jeff, you didn't tell me this. And then I say, did you look at your owner's manual? Very important. There's great information in there. It comes with a riding tips booklet, a quick riding tips card, and your flush kit adapter. And we'll show you that in just a second. In your glove box is located right here. You just lift up that lever and the glove box lifts up, is your safety lanyard, okay? And also in here, if you could see, is your 12-volt adapter and your USB charger along with your cell phone holder. They also make an accessory for these where you can get a divider pack that goes inside here and you can divide up your items inside your glove box, which is pretty nice. So the safety lanyard has to be on your wrist and on the rider at all times. Trust me, this is for your safety. If you fall off your watercraft, you can't swim as fast as this can idle and you will never catch your watercraft. The safety lanyard plugs in right here, just like that. And then this particular unit and all Yamahas are equipped with the integrated start-stop button. So the same button starts it and the same button stops it. What's really nice about that is that when you go, you're not looking for a different button to push when you want to turn the unit off. And as I tell everybody, if you're ever in doubt and you're uncomfortable, just pull the tether out, okay? So moving on from that, we're gonna wake up the gauge here for a minute. And Mike, I don't know if you can get a good shot of the gauge. But inside the gauge, this is your basic home screen right here. You can see it's highlighted in the home screen. In order to toggle through the gauge, you have a actual keypad here off to the side. It's the Connect system. And you'll toggle through and then you'll hit OK. So we'll toggle over and we'll start out in the settings screen. So in the settings screen, let me take this lanyard off. In the settings screen, you have your pin settings, which is right here. And you'll click OK, and then you can set your pin in here. So the standard factory setting is 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you go to add a new pin and to do that, you'll type in the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you'll type in the pin that you want. We'll go back again. In here you can change your unit. Right now it's set to Imperial, but it can be metric. You could do your language. I don't know, maybe you want to brush up on your Spanish. But in here you also have a wellness, and it's the time since the last maintenance schedule, so we will set that after we do that. Speaking of maintenance, the manufacturer takes and recommends that you do a 10-hour service. And at the 10-hour service, we change the oil. They recommend not doing the oil filter. I don't mean to go against Yamaha. If I'm going to change my oil, I'm going to do the oil filter at that time too. Also, from a break-in perspective, the owner's manual goes through a break-in period with you. Up in the northern states, we have a very limited riding season, so at least for your first tank of gas, you want to have a variation of throttle speed. Quarter throttle, half throttle, full throttle, mix it up, and you want to go easy for your first tank of gas. And then after that, you're pretty much ready to go out and have some fun. You also have your trip and fuel info. So you have your trip hours, your trip miles, engine hours, average miles per gallon, gallons used, gallons per hour, and then you have a reset button for those. Back to the home screen in here, again for that, and it shows you your battery voltage, engine RPM, miles per hour, and your fuel gauge is off there to the side too. Now you also have drive control. Drive control is on this screen, it's one click over, and you can take and go to speed and click OK, and then you can do your speed at middle or low and then hit save. You can lock the drive control after you've set your pin also. If you do engage the drive control, now it's engaged, it goes yellow on the top. I've had multiple customers call me, tell me that their watercraft, oh my God, Jeff, I lost all the power. Check your drive control. Make sure that your drive control's not on. And then they call back and be like, you're right, it was on. So make sure when that yellow light's lit up at the top, you know right then and there that your drive control's on. And that's just a nice feature to have, especially if you have a new and inexperienced rider. You could turn the watercraft down a little bit for them in order to do that. Sorry, it keeps going to sleep on me. Okay, so now we'll go back over and select drive control and we'll hit it again. And now the drive control's off and it goes back to white, okay? And then you go one more screen over on the top, and now you have your engine lock system. And then you can engage the engine lock, and then you'll have to put the pin in of your setting that you did, whatever you set it up for to do. At the beginning, once again, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. In order to actually operate the unit, Yamaha has a very intuitive system called RIDE, R-I-D-E, okay? The Watercraft always takes and always starts in neutral, and it'll actually show you, I don't want to call it your gear position, your bucket position, okay? Because on the back of the Watercraft, there's a bucket that redirects the water as it comes out of the jet pump. So, if the unit starts in neutral, and you want to take off and back away from the pier, you can grab this one, grab the throttle. Not only will it go in reverse, but it will also throttle up backwards for you. Now, as soon as you release it, it goes back to a neutral setting. Now you want to go forward through the no wake zone or out to the channel or out to the middle of the lake. You just tap this one, just tap the throttle, the right hand, and it will shift the bucket up, and then you begin to go. Now, if you have a long channel or a long system that you're trying to go through, Yamaha's equipped their Watercraft with a no-wake system, okay? So you actually take and hold in on the button, it will engage, it'll go beep, 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 and it idles the motor up for you a little bit. If you need, so that what that does essentially is it puts a little more water through the rear nozzle, and by putting more water through the rear nozzle, it gives you more control, because the more control, your steering comes from the handlebars and what's going through the rear nozzle. You can increase that by tapping the speed adjust button, and you can bump the no wake mode up or bump the no wake mode down. To cancel out the no wake feature, all you need to do is grab a handful of throttle and it will cancel right out. So you also have a cruise on the same button. So over 9 miles an hour. Say you have a thing for 42 miles an hour. I don't know why I picked 42, but you're going 42 miles an hour. You can hit your cruise button and you'll hold it and it will engage the cruise. You can then hold it wide open and it won't go over 42 miles an hour. Now, if you're pulling a tuber or skier, that's a nice feature to have. And then if say they want to go faster, now they want to go 43, you'll take that same button that you were adjusting your no wake mode with on the speed adjust, and you can click it up again and you can increase the speed of the unit to do that. As soon as you release the throttle, it will cancel out the cruise. Kind of like tapping the brake on your car a little bit for that. Around piers, Yamaha offers a feature called thrust directional enhancement, and it will show up on the gauge. You can hit the button forward for obviously going forward, and then you can hit the button in reverse for reverse. It just takes and changes the angle of the rear bucket a little bit to help your low speed maneuverability for that. You have your audio controls are right here, right on the dash, and so you can take and to turn it on. Now the audio fires up. Now notice, you could turn the audio on with the unit off. That might be something you want to be aware of. If you play the audio for an extended period of time without driving your unit and charging the battery, when you go to hit this little red start stop button, it might not work. So I would recommend using your audio when you're riding your unit, not when you're anchored. There you can Bluetooth into the audio system, the speakers for play, you can change your music, you can add and select your music, you can increase the volume up and down, and then you can pause your music. In order to shut it off, you'll take the power button, continue to hold on it right here, and continue, and now it powered down. So when you walk away from your Watercraft, you'd always want to make sure that you power it all the way down and do that. If the unit goes below 12 volts on the gauge, and remember when we turned the gauge on, you had your little meter reading. If it goes below 12 volts, it will shut the speakers down. I did receive a few phone calls and that my speakers didn't work. The battery needs to be at a full charge, but the battery should also be at a full charge just to help with codes and sensors and everything. A lot of times if your Watercraft sits for an extended period of time, the battery may wear down a little bit, and so a slight trickle charge on the battery is good. You don't want to jump it with the car, especially with the car on. They do make little jumper boxes, but just a trickle charge to make sure you're up to speed and ready to go is always a good suggestion for that. Okay, throughout your Yamaha Watercraft, you have warning stickers that are around that you might want to make sure that everybody adheres to. And some of the basics that are out there is reading your operator's manual, making sure that your head is on a swivel. You know, one of the biggest problems that people have when they ride a Watercraft is that you're so maneuverable, you're able to get in and watch and you're looking down at the water, but you're not scanning and looking around to find out where you're at. So keeping your head on a swivel, not just relying on your mirrors, is really important. Always shoulder check and do that. Yamaha as a manufacturer recommends 16 and older. Some states are 12 and older, but some states require boating safety classes. I would always recommend a boating safety class, and we kind of go on a motto at Nielsen Enterprises of know before you go. Understand port, starboard, bow, stern, you know, just basic boat lingo so that when you're pulling up to a dock and somebody's talking to you in boat, you can talk back to them, and just knowing what a no-wake buoy is, so that way you don't hurt somebody. These are all really important features. Proper equipment to ride in, booties, compression shorts for your bottom half of your body. Always wear a life jacket. Always make sure you have your safety lanyard on. Always make sure you have your fire extinguisher. I wouldn't go out in a watercraft without having mooring line. Always make sure you have mooring line. Check your fuel, make sure that it's filled, ready to go. Make sure that I always take a second and start the watercraft before I launch it and before it goes in the water. These are all little steps that you could do to make sure that your entire experience is much more enjoyable on your Yamaha watercraft. On the port side of the watercraft is your fuel fill. It's up towards the front. You can use regular unleaded gasoline in it. It does not need to be a premium gas. When you do go to put your watercraft into storage, in the Chicagoland area, we have a lot of additives in our fuel. So I'll recommend premium for storage along with stable or seafoam, something to hold that gas over the winter while it sits dormant. But yeah, just regular unleaded gasoline. Where your feet go on a Yamaha, they're equipped with little drain holes. This is a really nice feature, and as a matter of fact, I remember the dealer meeting when Yamaha introduced drain holes in the footwells, and probably got a bigger cheer than some of the new horsepower unveilings they did that year. So that's what these pieces are right in here. The cleats are meant for tying off. These are retractable cleats, so you can tie off your boat and you're not wrapping it around your handlebars. If you do tie off, make sure that you take that rope off and put it away multiple times. People forget, and the rope goes up underneath where the intake grate is on the bottom of the boat, and they suck the rope up inside. And then we got to either fillet knife it off or pull your pump out. So we don't want to do that. So under your seats, there's a clip back here. The back seat pops off. In here is a dry storage container underneath the seat. This seat pops off here, just like so. And that dry storage container also lifts out. On the starboard side at the back is your battery location. If you notice, there's actually 2 leads that come into that. 2 of the leads are for the battery to start the motor, and then the other 2 leads are for the speaker system. So that's actually, you'll see the different leads coming into your unit. Yamaha uses, this particular model uses the TR1 motor in it, approximately 115 to 120 horsepower. This is where your flush kit adapter goes. So we talked about the flush kit adapter, and for saltwater application, it's really important to flush it every time. Freshwater application, you know, every couple times, or every, you know, maybe 2 times a month. If you're in a really mucky water situation or a dirty water situation, it's probably better to flush a little bit more often. Probably one of the biggest points I can tell you is when you go to flush your watercraft, and there's multiple videos out there, plus they cover it in your owner's manual, you never run water into the motor with the engine off. The engine has to be on at all times. So the process is, get yourself all hooked up to your garden hose, start the engine. It can run out of the water for 20 or 30 seconds, or 15 seconds, we'll say, because I don't want anybody pushing it. You'll go over, start the garden hose. You'll flush your watercraft out. You'll see the extra water running out of the back by the exhaust and by the jet pump in the back. And then you will turn the water off, let it run for another 10 seconds or so, and then shut the watercraft off. And then at the back of the motor, you have a cap right here. This cap screws out, and that's where you would check and add your oil. I would caution you to check the oil when it's got some heat to the motor. A lot of times I get people that overfill their motor, their engine oil all the time on these. So that's also discussed in your owner's manual. I have a reboarding step, it's spring loaded. You know, everybody talks about getting sand and stuff in there. It's a good idea to take and hose that out when you're done using the watercraft to make sure that it always stays clear of debris. And then in the back, you have a drain plug here, and there's a drain plug here. You should always check your drain plugs before you launch your watercraft. The intake rate, So this is the ride plate for the unit, and the intake grate is located just before that. The intake grate is where the water comes in and shoots out the jet pump in the back. It shoots out this jet nozzle right here. So this back piece, just like this, all right? It is extremely important to make sure that you are in knee-deep to waist-deep water. This is a big vacuum cleaner that will take and suck a rock up off the bottom of the lake, and once it gets in your intake grate and it's headed towards your impeller, there's only one place for it to go. And trust me, if you get into drought situations in the summer and where you were riding before, you always kind of want to know your depth and the situation that you're in. But knee deep to waist deep before you give it a big application of throttle. One more part about the intake, or where the water comes in. Weeds. If you're in a weedy lake situation and you get a bunch of weeds jammed in the intake grate, you're not getting circulation. Yamaha uses an open loop cooling system on their Watercraft. There's a hose that comes off the pump that redirects its way through the motor, cools, and then comes back out again. That has to be clear of any debris. If you continue to try to operate your Watercraft with weeds jammed in, the unit will overheat. And how will you know? You'll know because you'll go to grab a handful of throttle and the engine revs and you don't go anywhere. So trust me. To clear the debris out of your intake grate though, you'll shut the Watercraft off because you don't want to be sticking your hands up in there with the Watercraft on, and plus the jet pump has a lot of thrust coming out the back of it. You'll dismount the Watercraft, reach up underneath, pull the weeds out, and then remount the Watercraft again, and then you're on your way. Because you bought a limited model, there's accessories that come with the unit, okay? You have a storage bag that mounts on the back, a cover comes with it, a tube comes with your unit, tube and rope, and then it also comes with the tube holder. The tube holder hooks into the back hook and goes through each retractable cleat on each side. So that way if the tube is inflated, you can continue to bring it with you, and that's what the tube holder's for. And then it also comes with a couple fenders from Yamaha to help keep your Watercraft looking nice. So there you go, there's your 2023 VX Limited run through. Hope that it was helpful for you, and thank you for spending time with me today. Here at Nielsen Enterprises, where we have a ride for every rider.